My name is Danielle Carter. I'm 30 years old. And up until 3 weeks ago, I genuinely believed my life was already built. Not perfect. I'm not naive. Life doesn't hand out perfect, but stable, solid, the kind of life you can lean your weight on without fear it'll crack. I had a good job in software development, a fiancé I'd been with for 4 years, and a best friend I'd known since college, Marina Wolf, the kind of person you call family long before you ever actually get married. Marina and I had survived the messy years together. Failed exams, bad breakups, that weird season after graduation when everyone is pretending they know what they're doing and secretly panicking in their childhood bedrooms. The funeral for her dad, the cancer scare with my mom. She was there for the kind of moments you don't post online. So when Jason Lang, my fiancé, proposed to me 2 years ago, Marina was the first person I called. I remember walking into our kitchen with my hand shaking, the ring still sparkling like a fresh promise. She said yes, Marina screamed through the phone like she'd won something too. Then, 6 months later, when Marina got engaged to her boyfriend Ethan Price, I was the one holding her hands at the engagement party, crying like it was my own. That's what it felt like between the four of us. Me, Jason, Marina, Ethan. We weren't just couples, we were a unit. Double dates every other weekend. Group chats that never went quiet. Sunday brunches that somehow turned into 4-hour conversations. Vacations we should all take together someday. Weddings we'd already imagined in detail. Jason and Ethan became close fast too. Beer nights, gym sessions, inside jokes I didn't even understand. And Marina and I? We had that wordless female bond where you don't have to explain every thought because she already knows the shape of your feelings. It felt real. It felt like we were building a future with witnesses. And I think that's the part that still makes me feel sick if I think about it too long. Because it wasn't just betrayal. It was betrayal with an audience. It was betrayal with laughter behind my back. Last Tuesday, Jason came home from work around 7 p.m. I remember the time because I was on the couch, laptop open, finishing a code review that should have taken me 30 minutes, but I'd been rewriting the same section obsessively because something in my brain wouldn't settle. Jason stood in the doorway with this expression I didn't recognize. Not angry, not sad. Just empty. He didn't kiss me hello. Didn't take off his shoes right away like he always did. Just stood there like he was waiting for me to speak first, like he'd rehearsed the scene and wasn't sure when to start. Danielle, he said. My stomach tightened. Not because he said my name, because of how carefully he said it, like it was fragile. We need to talk. I closed my laptop slowly. Not dramatically, not with rage. Just like my body already knew what my mind hadn't accepted yet. Okay, I said, what's going on? He didn't sit next to me. He sat across from me, on the chair near the coffee table, like we were strangers meeting for a serious discussion. And that's when the first cold thought slid through my chest. Oh, this is already decided. Jason folded his hands together. He stared at his fingers instead of my face. I can't do this anymore. There's something terrifying about hearing that from someone you've planned a wedding with. Because I can't do this anymore doesn't mean we're having a problem. It means you've already left me in your head and you're just informing me of the funeral date. I didn't speak, I just waited. His throat bobbed. I'm in love with Marina. The sentence landed like a glass dropped on tile. Except there was no sound. Just silence. Then, weirdly, clarity. No shock, no disbelief. Just a clean understanding, like my brain reached up and flicked on a light. Because suddenly, the last 2 months snapped into alignment. Marina being too tired to reply to my texts, but always fully energized at group dinners. Jason volunteering to pick up food when we all hung out, insisting he'd drive, insisting Marina ride with him because it's easier if one of us runs in while the other parks. The time I walked into the kitchen during Ethan's birthday dinner and Jason and Marina went quiet so fast it was almost comical, like I'd interrupted a confession. The distance in Jason's eyes lately, not angry, not cold, just absent. I stared at him. How long? I asked. He exhaled like the question annoyed him. Does it matter? I blinked once, slow. Yes, Jason, I said, my voice calm in a way that didn't even feel like mine. It matters. He looked down again. 4 months. 4 months. A third of the year. We'd celebrated my birthday in those 4 months. He'd taken me to that little bed and breakfast I'd been talking about for ages, held my hand in the hot tub like he meant it. We'd had sex. We'd looked at wedding venues. We talked about seating charts and whether we should do plated dinner or buffet. I let the information settle inside me, heavy as wet cement. Does Ethan know? I asked. Jason shook his head. No, Marina hasn't told him, not yet. And then something colder than betrayal slid into place. Because it meant this wasn't impulsive. It wasn't one drunken mistake they regretted. They'd been living two lives for 4 months, and the plan was to keep doing it until it was convenient to stop. I could see it now so clearly I almost laughed. They were probably going to sit Ethan and me down together one day, like some twisted couple's therapy ambush. Smile sadly. Hold hands. Say they didn't mean for it to happen. Talk about how love is complicated. Ask us to understand. As if betrayal becomes noble when you describe it gently. Jason glanced at me, waiting for the crying, the screaming, the panic. Instead, I nodded. Okay, I said. He blinked, thrown off. That's it? He asked. You're not going to say anything? I leaned back slightly, studying him. What do you want me to say? I asked. Congratulations? He looked offended, as if I was being cruel. I don't know, he muttered. Something. Anything. And right there, the final piece locked into place. Jason wasn't heartbroken. He was uncomfortable. He wanted me to perform devastation so he could feel like the villain in a story with a dramatic ending. He wanted tears, anger, chaos. Because if I stayed calm, then he had to face what he was. Not a tragic romantic hero. Just a man who betrayed me and wanted to walk away without consequences. I stood up. You can stay here tonight, I said, grabbing my bag from the entry table. I'm going to my sister's. His mouth opened. Danielle! But I was already walking to the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I just left. My older sister Rachel opened her apartment door in sweatpants and a messy bun, blinking like she wasn't sure if she was dreaming. Danny, she whispered, what happened? And that's when the composure cracked. Just a little. Not into hysterics. Into something worse. Numb truth. I walked inside, sat on her couch, and said in a flat voice, Jason is in love with Marina. Rachel stared at me for 3 seconds like her brain refused to process the words. Then she swore so violently I almost smiled. What? She snapped. No, that's... 4 months, I said. Rachel's face changed into something sharp and protective. Where is he? She demanded, already reaching for her phone. I grabbed her wrist. Not yet, I said. I didn't even know why I said it. Maybe because deep down, I needed to understand the full shape of my reality before I let anyone else touch it. Rachel sat beside me, jaw clenched. Okay, she said, too calm. Then what do you need? I swallowed. And suddenly I remembered something that made my blood run cold. That morning, I'd noticed Jason left his laptop open on the kitchen counter. We shared a cloud account. Photos, documents, normal couple stuff. The kind of shared space you only create when you believe you're safe. I pulled out my own laptop with hands that didn't shake, logged in, and found exactly what I expected. A folder titled Travel Ideas. It had nothing to do with travel. Inside were messages between Jason and Marina stretching back 4 months. Not just flirting, not just longing, planning, mockery. Screenshots where my name was tossed around like a nuisance. And the moment I opened the first one, I understood something that hit even harder than the affair itself. They weren't just betraying me. They were laughing while doing it, and I hadn't even reached the worst message yet. Not even close. The thing about betrayal is that people imagine it explodes. They picture yelling, shattered glass, a dramatic collapse. But what actually happens, at least to me, was something quieter, colder. I sat on my sister Rachel's couch at 2 a.m, laptop balanced on my knees, scrolling through evidence of a 4-month affair like I was reviewing someone else's case file. Jason and Marina hadn't just been sneaking around. They'd been comfortable. There were messages about logistics, timing, risk management, screenshots where Marina joked that Ethan was too trusting for his own good. Messages from Jason saying things like, Danielle's buried in work anyway. She won't even notice until it's too late. I noticed. Every word felt like a small incision. Clean, precise, surgical. No drama. Just damage. Rachel stood behind me, reading over my shoulder, arms crossed so tightly her knuckles went white. Oh, I would burn the world, she muttered. I'm not burning anything, I said. I opened my screenshot tool, and I started documenting. Every message, every image, every timestamp. 23 screenshots in total. Not because I wanted revenge, but because the truth deserves witnesses. When I finished, I closed the folder and stared at the screen for a long moment. There was only one person who didn't know yet, and he deserved to. I pulled up Ethan's number. My finger hovered. Rachel leaned closer. You sure? Yes, I said. I hit call. He answered on the second ring, voice warm, distracted, probably in the middle of something ordinary. Dinner. Music. A life he still believed in. Hey, Danny, he said. What's up? Are you home? I asked. Yeah, why? I'm sending you something, I said. Please look at it before Marina gets back. A pause. What? He laughed nervously. You're scaring me. Just look, I said. I sent the folder. Then I waited. The silence afterward was the worst part. 4 minutes passed. Then my phone rang again. Ethan was crying so hard I could barely understand him. Is this real? He kept asking. Tell me this isn't real, please. I'm so sorry, I said. And for the first time since Jason's confession, my voice cracked. She told me tonight, I continued. I didn't know how else to... That coward, Ethan sobbed. That absolute... He broke off, gasping. I'd never heard him swear before. I was making her favorite dinner. I was literally standing in the kitchen, making her favorite dinner. We stayed on the phone almost an hour. He cried. I listened. I didn't cry. Not because I didn't feel it, but because something in me had shifted from heartbreak to execution mode. He told me he was packing a bag and going to his brother's place. I told him I was at my sister's. We agreed to talk again in a few days, to check in, to survive. When I hung up, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Jason called 11 times. Marina called 8. I didn't answer either of them. I put my phone face down on the table and finally leaned back, staring at the ceiling like it might explain how my life had split so cleanly in half. By morning, the fallout had begun. At 6 a.m., there was pounding on Rachel's door. Not a knock, a demand. Rachel opened it halfway and blocked the doorway with her body. Marina stood in the hall, hair unwashed, eyes red, face twisted with rage. How could you? She yelled past Rachel. How could you violate my privacy like that? I stepped into view. You cheated on me for 4 months, I said calmly. And I violated your privacy? Her mouth opened, closed. The irony hit the hallway like a slap. You had no right, she screamed. That was between us. No, Rachel snapped. You don't get to decide who the truth belongs to. Marina turned on her, furious. Stay out of this. This is my sister's apartment, Rachel replied coldly, and you need to leave. Marina looked at me like she expected me to soften. To apologize. To fix it. Danny, she said, her voice suddenly fragile, you didn't have to do this. I stared at her. You didn't have to do what you did, I said. Rachel slammed the door. Jason tried a different tactic. Around noon, he sent me a long message. I read it twice. I know you're angry and you have every right to be. This isn't how I wanted you to find out. Marina and I didn't plan this. It just happened. We tried to fight it, but some things are bigger than us. I hope one day you can understand that what we have is real. You're my best friend. And that will never change. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. I blocked his number. Ethan texted me later that afternoon. She tried to come by the house to get her things. My dad was there. Let's just say Marina left without them. That made me smile for the first time in 24 hours. But it didn't last long. Because at 7 p.m., Rachel wasn't home. And I saw Marina sitting on the steps outside the building through the window. Mascara streaked, shoulders shaking, waiting. And I made a choice I still think about sometimes. I went downstairs. She looked up when she saw me, hope flooding her face like I'd just thrown her a rope. He broke up with me, she sobbed immediately. I didn't say anything. Jason, she continued, he said Ethan's family is threatening legal action because of the prenup. He said he can't afford to lose his business connections with Ethan's dad. He said we need to take a break until things calm down. I almost laughed. Almost. So, I said slowly, you're here because... She reached for my arm. I made a mistake, she cried. We were good together. You and me, we can fix this. No, I said. She froze. I love you, she said desperately. I always did. You told me you were in love with Jason, I replied, yesterday. I was confused, she pleaded. I panicked about the wedding. I was scared. I pulled my arm away. Stop. But she didn't. She said she'd go to therapy. She said Jason manipulated her. She said anything she thought might unlock me again. I thought about the screenshots, about her laughing in text messages, about how long she'd fantasized about him. Go home, I said. Pack your things. You have until Friday to move out. Her face crumpled. Where am I supposed to go? I didn't hesitate. Jason's place. She flinched like I'd struck her. I walked back upstairs and watched from the window until she finally left. I didn't wave. I didn't cry. I just closed the blinds. By the end of the week, the mess had grown teeth. Marina moved out. Technically. Emotionally, she kept trying to move back in. She showed up 3 more times under the excuse of needing to talk. Each time, she arrived with a new version of the same story. Panic, confusion, regret, therapy, accountability, growth. Each time, the answer was the same. No. Rachel took time off work to stay with me. 2 of my friends rotated shifts, not because Marina was dangerous, but because grief mixed with entitlement can make people unpredictable. Marina cried, while packing like she expected me to comfort her. I didn't. She kept looking at me the way people look at a mirror, waiting for it to reflect the version of themselves they prefer. I refused. By Friday afternoon, her side of the closet was empty. The apartment looked unfamiliar in that strange way places do after something ends. Too much space, too many ghosts. Jason tried one last move. Not directly. He went through a coworker. The message came in neutral, awkward phrasing, like it was being delivered by a reluctant courier. He wants to apologize in person. He says he owes you that much. I laughed. Not hysterically. Just a sharp exhale. I told my coworker to tell him this. If he ever contacts me again, through anyone, I will forward every single screenshot to his entire family and his employer. That did it. He stopped. Ethan texted me updates I didn't ask for but appreciated. Marina had tried to retrieve more belongings from their shared place. His mother answered the door this time. She didn't let Marina inside. Ethan's father, quiet, professional, devastating, had already started pulling contracts connected to Jason's consulting work. No shouting, no public scandal, just consequences. That night, Rachel and I sat on the floor eating takeout straight from the containers. She thought she could come back, Rachel said, shaking her head. Like this was a pause button. I nodded. She thought I'd be grateful she chose me second. Saturday morning, I met Ethan for coffee. Not as a date. Not as a what if. Just two people who had been hit by the same car from opposite directions. He looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes. Hands wrapped too tightly around his cup. How are you? I asked. He laughed bitterly. No, he said honestly, but I will be. We sat in silence for a while. Eventually he said, they deserve each other. Yeah, I replied, they do. He hesitated. Do you want to get dinner sometime? Not like, he gestured awkwardly, just support. I nodded. I'd like that. It felt healthy, grounded, unforced. Jason tried again the following week, this time through his cousin. The message was brief. Tell her I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Because there are apologies that are for the person you hurt, and there are apologies that are just a plea for relief from guilt. Jason's was the second kind. Marina's mother called me. That conversation was surreal. She apologized for her daughter, said she didn't raise her that way, asked if there was anything she could do. There wasn't. I thanked her for reaching out, and let it go. By the following Monday, word filtered through mutual friends. Jason and Marina had tried to make it work. For about a week. Turns out soulmates don't fare well when the secrecy disappears. The magic evaporates when reality walks in. Shocking. Ethan texted me one evening. She's posting sad quotes on Instagram. I hate that I still look. I replied, block her. It helps. He did. 3 weeks out, I was functioning. Not thriving, but breathing. I canceled the wedding venue and lost the deposit. That hurt more than I expected. Not financially, but symbolically. Like paying a fee for believing someone. I stayed with Rachel while I looked for a place of my own. Something clean, neutral, untouched by memories. Ethan and I had dinner twice. We talked about work, about stupid gym injuries, about everything except them. That was the rule. Jason didn't appear in my dreams. Marina didn't haunt me. What I missed wasn't either of them. It was the future I'd already rehearsed in my head. The version of Jason I thought I knew. The version of Marina I trusted with my back turned. Those people didn't exist. And once I accepted that, the grief lost its claws. 4 months after everything collapsed, people started asking for updates. As if healing was a series. As if pain needed an epilogue. So here it is. 6 weeks after the breakup, Marina reached out again. Not to apologize. To explain. She said she was in therapy now. That her therapist suggested she seek closure. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed one sentence. I don't owe you closure. And blocked her. Rachel saw her a month later at a grocery store. Marina tried to ask about me. Rachel walked away without answering. I love my sister more than I can put into words. Jason's spiral was slower, quieter, and far more satisfying than anything dramatic could have been. Through the grapevine, I heard he went through 2 more relationships after Marina. Both lasted less than a month. His business took a hit. Ethan's father quietly withdrew contracts, and word traveled the way it always does in professional circles. No scandal, just reputation. He was also pushed out of our old friend group. Even the guys who used to joke about bro code looked at the screenshots and said he crossed a line. When your betrayal disgusts even people who tolerate bad behavior, you've done something special. Marina moved to a city about an hour away. New job, startup energy, Instagram stories about choosing yourself, and fresh beginnings. I don't follow her. Mutual friends tried to show me. I told them to stop. That wasn't bitterness. It was indifference. Ethan and I stayed friends. We had dinner last week, and he told me he's seeing someone new, A woman from his gym who knows nothing about Marina, Jason, or any of it. He smiled when he talked about her. He asked if I was seeing anyone. No, I said, but I'm okay. And I was. I hit the gym more. Picked up guitar again, something I dropped during wedding planning because I didn't have time. Reconnected with friends I'd unintentionally neglected while building a life with someone who turned out to be a placeholder. 2 weeks ago, something unexpected happened. I ran into Jason at a coffee shop. We made eye contact. He opened his mouth like he was going to speak, and I walked past him like he didn't exist. He didn't follow, didn't call out, just let me go. That moment felt better than any apology ever could have. I moved into my new apartment in September. It's smaller than this place Jason and I shared, but it's mine. Every piece of furniture is something I chose. There are no memories soaked into the walls. I can breathe here. Someone asked me in my DMs if I regret sending Ethan those screenshots. Not for a second. He deserved to know. I deserved to know. And if Jason and Marina had been honest instead of sneaking around for 4 months, maybe things would have ended differently. But they weren't. So this is what happened instead. Rachel asked me recently if I think I'll ever trust someone again. I told her maybe, but not soon. I spent 4 years building a life with someone who threw it away for a fantasy. I'm not doing that again until I'm absolutely sure. Life is strange like that. You think you know someone. Then one day, they look you in the eye and tell you they love your best friend. And you realize maybe you never knew them at all. But you move on anyway. And some days, that's enough.